Peace, people. I hope you're well. This is Michael Kojo Boachi Apabonsu. Um, I'm the founder of Cultural Therapy and also a member of ROSASH, the Royal Society for Ashanti Culture and History. I'm out here in Accra at the moment, and I thought I'd just take some time out to talk a little bit about cultural therapy and what it's about, what it means. Cultural therapy is all about, it's basically a mental health charity for the diaspora. So the diaspora is basically people living abroad who descend from Africa and want to return. So you can see the logo on my T-shirt has a symbol similar to Sankofa. So you can see the bird going back for the egg, and I guess the egg is the diaspora, and the bird is the ancestors, and the bird represents Mother Nature. So you can see a female symbol here. That symbol is Asasia, Mother Nature. Um, so the bird is going back for the egg, and the egg represents the future. It represents new birth and new beginning. So the diaspora is that new birth and new beginning. And our ancestors who came before us have a lot of wisdom to give us. So we need to look back to the past to understand how we can not repeat the same mistakes of the past and how we can create a better future for ourselves. So, with regards to mental health, there's a lot of trauma, and trauma is usually due to a past event that's taken place that is affecting you presently and it's affecting your future because you're struggling to let go. So, with regards to cultural therapy, we want to discuss healing and how we can overcome these issues because ancestrally there were a lot of difficulties and hardships that were placed upon our ancestors, and they had their own coping mechanisms and they managed to survive, because if they didn't manage to survive, none of us would be here. So there's a mental strength that we can learn from them, and there's so much wisdom that just gets cast away. It's not considered because it's not documented in the Western world, and the Western world is not the only perspective of authority in the world. Our people have equal rights and equal intelligence and equal capacity. So rather than only looking at different psychology systems based upon maybe middle class white men, um, like the DSM, the mental health DSM, was organized by people of a certain race, a certain age, and they were all men as well. And hence why, we've got the female energy, to balance, to bring balance back to the world, because it's a very male orientated, dominated world, and there's no human being on this planet that didn't come through a woman, through the thighs of a woman, or through the womb of a woman, whether it's a cesarean or whatever. So women are important, and female energy and female perspectives and inputs. So we're looking at female psychologists and female therapists. We're trying to empower them in a male-dominated world, but that's not the sole purpose of cultural therapy. It's just one of the angles, because I'm an Asante, and it's part of Asante culture to respect the woman. There's a king, but there's always the queen mother. And that's balance. That's balance, and I believe in balance. Um, but yeah, cultural therapy is basically a mental health charity that focuses on the diaspora, people that have experienced certain traumas, whether it's traumas from slavery, whether it's trauma from gang violence, gang history, stabbings, shootings, you name it, whether it's traumas from domestic violence, there's so many different types of traumas that are plagued in black communities specifically, to the point whereby they're suffering with identity crises, bleaching their skin, um, trying to be something that they're not. And when you swim against the tide like that, that causes mental strain and people break down, bereavements. Some people don't know how to grieve. I remember when my cousin got shot, I didn't know how to grieve him properly, and that caused a lot of strain. I was swimming against the tide. Even though I did a master's degree after he died, and I got a distinction, and I got a very high grade, and I was very high operating, I was unwell. Do you understand? I was unwell. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep properly, and that's why I got a high grade, because I was studying so hard, because studying was peace of mind. It was not me thinking about his open casket or looking at his body in the morgue or, thinking dark thoughts, vengeance and stuff like that. Torture. But I didn't know how to grieve. I was raised as a Christian, and that belief system had failed me at the time, or I had failed myself. I don't know how to put it, but it wasn't a coping mechanism for me anymore. So the grievance process was weird for me, because whereas I used to just pray things away, I wasn't in that position. So I didn't know what to lean on, and that ended up taking its toll on me a few years down the line. So he died in 2011, and by the time it got to 2016, I deteriorated, and the lack of sleep started turning into manic mania, and me becoming hyperactive and impulsive and hard to control or restrain myself, restrain my anger. I was getting into a lot of violent situations that a lot of people thought were uncalled for. I ended up carrying a lot of weapons, getting court cases, trouble with the police, all sorts of stuff, and it was all due to mental health. You know what I mean? Because naturally, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a peace-loving person. I used to make music that was about anti-gun crime and put down the guns. I used to work with ex-gang members, old type PDC, old type Natural Souls, and my message was not, I'm moving with ex-gang members. No, my music was that I'm moving with ex-gang members that want to get away from this shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but they want to get away from the violence. They want to get away from it. They want to build a new life. That's the kind of music that I was making. So for me to have deteriorated to the point where I was now becoming very violent in my thoughts and in my spirit, it was because of mental health. But one thing about cultural therapy that is very different from the Western perspective is that the Western perspective is very scientific, but it doesn't include spirituality. It doesn't take God into context of things. It doesn't take higher powers. It doesn't consider these things, And being an Asante, Nyame, Nyankopon, God, we're a God-fearing people. Do you understand? See, Jinyame is on my ring. I got it on my tooth, but you can't see it. But I believe in God. I keep him in my mouth. I keep him in my heart. I keep him in my mind. And every single psychologist or counselor or whatever, they might have believed in God in their private lives, but they're not allowed to talk about God the way that they should. Do you understand? Or the devil, or evil, or whatever your belief system is. I don't really believe in certain concepts anymore. I just believe in good over evil. Do you understand? Good over evil. That's what I believe in. But anyway, not to digress. But yeah, coming back to the motherland is healing. Like, vitamin D from the sun alone is healing. Half of the illnesses that we have in the UK are due to deficiencies of not being in our natural climate, a natural state. Do you understand? That's why we suffer certain illnesses. I don't even know to name them. I mean, I'm not necessarily a specialist, but I know what I'm talking about. But I would rather empower a specialist to come on the platform and talk about this in more depth at a later point. But yeah, I want to discuss a lot of things in cultural therapy. And some good news is that I've got some land in Ghana. So I've got some land in Ghana, and I hope to be building a mental health retreat guest home supported accommodation, whereby people with mental health from all over the world can come and be safe, be looked for, looked after, treated well, with professionals around if needed, and have a holistic experience in nature from a perspective that's not just a Western perspective. Because the West is not the only place that has intellectuals. It's not the only place that you can find truth. Not everything in the West is necessarily right. You've got to remember that at a point, slavery was right to them. And we want to discuss this as well. Asantes have been accused of selling the diaspora to slavery. But I don't think a lot of people know Asante culture properly, or know the dates, or slavery. We're looking at the 1400s. Asantes didn't exist until around the 1700s. But I have a specialist that will be able to look into this more, a historian. So, yeah, I work with historians who write books, who do lectures and stuff like that. I think the laptop's overheating, so I'm going to come out from the sun.